Well, it's 5 o'clock. We have quorum. We just jump into this and maybe we'll get a few more people walking in. We will see, but since we're all here, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Do we have approval of this evening's meeting agenda?
I move we approve the agenda for tonight.
And we have second? John Wagey, our minute taker needs to know it. I got it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, so let's move on. Anyone from the public here? Any cold souls? I don't see anyone. Unless our staff are wearing chew hats and they want to be a public member tonight. Items we discussed, let's jump into the bylaws.
Okay, so the draft before you, the bylaws, includes the draft changes and memo from the November packet. There's no changes from that. A couple of situational change, there are situational changes since November to be aware of. So the Iowa Supreme Court ruled on what was an appeals court decision about closed meetings, especially related to the hiring of the library director or evaluating the library director.
Okay.
The new Iowa Supreme Court ruling at the end of November returns to the original understanding of when a closed meeting is appropriate. The individual in those situations, either in the the applicant or the library director asking for or getting an evaluation, must request a closed session, and then you must vote in favor to do so.
So that returns to our old interpretation of this.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Does that impact? We were really trying to be careful with the last round, calling things working committees or
we'll have to go back to
groups or committees or whatever.
Yeah, we'll have to go
and
through
there's some language in here that I think we'll want to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And there might be something, if you have questions too, then we will on some changes, we'll send them to legal to make sure that we're perfect understanding. But yeah, every change in how we understood committees or closed sessions has gone back to, yes, the original understanding.
The original being the anti-status quo. The one that used to, that a year ago would be.
Back to, yeah.
Not the
new.
Not the one that we sort of. Revised.
Right, from the last year. Yeah, erase the last year.
Yeah.
So committees can still meet in private.
Mm-hmm. That's my understanding, but.
Okay, that wasn't what I understood from the city's note.
Oh.
So I'm glad you're clarifying that. I thought the city was again saying that we needed to look at the difference between working groups and committees.
Mm-hmm.
It says considering whether or not I didn't understand that. Did anyone else have that interpretation? The attorney was just saying committees need to be public.
I don't have that memo in front of me, but that was my interpretation as I read it. Maybe wrong, but
Eric Goers' memo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking then.
So the Supreme Court has thrown everything out, that all the revisions that had been made. So we're back to the place where you can have committees. Is that correct?
That's what we're trying to clarify.
The memo really spoke to going into closed sessions.
Right.
Which was required, but I can get a, yeah, I've never been talking about committees or not. I can get a clarification from the city attorney's office. Not specific.
Okay, it feels to me like a lot of the changes to the bylaws had to do with interpreting that. So given the intervening Supreme Court decision, maybe we need to go back to the drawing board on this and see what needs to change and what doesn't anymore. Which, now that we've delayed it for 2 months.
However, we do need to approve a version of it tonight, whether it's the original version without the adjustments. Okay. Because we are hitting a timeline for our accreditation that we need to look at our bylaws.
Okay.
So we could follow your recommendation and even vote on keeping the bylaws as they originally were, And then coming back to this to examine the recommendations from the bylaws working group. As an option, but I'm saying tonight we need to vote
Mhm.
to have bylaws that we're operating under.
We could put the policy say as reviewed at this date, and then you wouldn't have to vote because you would be keeping the policy the exact same way. And then we could put it back on a future agenda.
Okay. Who was in the bylaws working group?
John and Corey,
John and
the working
Corey.
group, John and Corey,
Yeah, yes.
and Corey's not here tonight.
Okay.
So it'd be hard to have the discussion without Corey also.
I mean, do you agree that a lot of these changes had to do with that change to the law or?
Yeah,
The only thing that I think has changed is the business of committees and open meetings.
Okay,
And I think we can deal with that. I don't think that's such an obstruction. The idea of working groups vis-a-vis committees, it strikes me as totally specious. That would never stand up in a court. If you went in and said, well, we have working committees and we have, or working groups, we have committees, and they don't do the same thing.
Well, the working groups did not have the power that a committee had. They could not take action.
Well, it says in the bylaws here that it tells you that, but of course, the committees don't have the power to act in lieu of the board either. It can report to the board, but it can't act in lieu of them.
Okay, so maybe what we should do this evening is get that confirmed by the city attorney so that we have the interpretation, are committees able to meet and do we need working groups?
Right.
And then bring it back up for tonight, say we reviewed what the bylaws were, because kind of in a no man's land here.
I mean, I was going over them and
Yeah.
3 months since I
I know.
worked on my revisions, I've forgotten.
And I feel bad that people put effort into this. I just feel like we're in a changing political environment and we didn't know what the court decision would be.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at the interpretation of that. So I want to respect that the work that was done, but at the same time, I don't want you to have to do it over and over and over again. So I'm wondering if we should mark that we reviewed these for this evening. Get a clarification from the attorneys and then come back to this again. Does that make the most sense to people?
I think, well, yeah, because now I'm looking through this and some of these probably don't need another review, mostly the things about.
Yeah, but we could review it all in one body.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, is that a lot of this stuff probably doesn't need further revision, but like, it looks good. But the
Plain
stuff
like
about committees and working groups, then.
So that would be Article 4, Section 2, Article 5, Section 3. Missing any others?
This is not specifically related to what we're talking about, but it's sort of tangential on Article 4, Section 4. The second paragraph. It talks about the search committee making an appointment. And that the board is then authorized to affirm or deny the appointment. It seems to me that appointment should be changed to recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe as we have the city attorney's office look at the whole thing, we could highlight that too.
Now, that Article 4 says the board appoints committees, makes appointments to the Friends Foundation Board. But not on hiring decisions.
Hiring decisions by the full board.
Right.
That's by full board.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is only am I misreading this or misunderstanding what you're saying?
I think she's looking at the last word in the paragraph
Of article, which one?
of
Section,
Article 4, Section 4.
section 4.
Yeah, it says in the event of choosing a new library director. Which is why I made that connection.
But so it's saying to make a recommendation. And the Board of Trustees is authorized to affirm or deny. Well, I guess the appointment is the correct word. They make a recommendation. And the board makes the appointment.
Why couldn't we just say the Board of Trustees is then or authorized to affirm or deny the recommendation
that was my thought as well.
instead of the word appointment?
A recommended appointment.
As if it were already made.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes it
the
clear.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that doesn't have to do with the law, so the other thing is the regular meeting schedule.
Mhm.
There's been discussion whether we should continue with a regular meeting time. I think this is work over time, but I'd like to know what the working group was thinking about that.
Well, it was Corey who was thinking about it, so I'll have to speak for him.
Yeah.
But he said this gives more liberal control
Right.
to the board every year
Right.
to determine when they're going to meet. And this has to do with people with children and, so it's a more complicated business than many of us thought of it as being years ago. But it just allows for some flexibility in
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And we might want to say that at the beginning, first meeting of the year, well, first meeting of the fiscal year, that the board then for the next will determine a meeting time for the next year. I mean, I think that was the point.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted
We're speaking for him, yeah.
that change. And then at first I balked a bit, but I think he was right.
Yeah. I guess my only concern was the transparency of the community, knowing this is when we always meet if they wanted to address us. However, you're right, we'd still be posting it.
Yeah, it'll be,
So- So should we hold off that discussion till we have Corey to let us know what he's thinking too and just come back to this? Because I don't think it'll take us long to go through this next month if we have a clean version.
Did the city attorney have an opinion on this? The meeting times?
No.
The city attorney review was also before the,
Yeah.
But I can send that question to, the meeting.
I do think though that it is important for continuity's sake to have a designated,
Yeah, I have mixed it because I've been on other commissions for the city.
they're not all topsy-turvy, are they?
They're not, they have explicit when you apply saying this is when the board meets. So that it's in the staff schedule, it's in everyone's schedule, so there's no negotiation. It's just like, if you apply, this is when the group meets. So
That's what I
I'm
was thinking
torn.
of as well. It would be noticed to people who are thinking about
Right,
applying,
right.
about whether it would fit in their calendar or not. Now,
Right.
granted, they could have input, when the group
Yeah.
decides for the coming year, but in some ways, as an applicant, it's nice to know what
Right.
the expectation would be.
So should we ask the city attorney,
I can ask if that's what you think.
maybe what other groups are doing? Yeah. Well, we've always discussed whether having the meetings at this time can create a barrier to parents or to other people. And we've always come back this time, but I don't know if rigidity is good or bad in this case.
it's pretty hard to just,
Yeah,
to figure out another time which works for,
that's what we did. We couldn't come up with a better time because parents are sometimes making dinner, but the workday constrains them and evenings get difficult and there was no perfect time. So are we settled at this point? We can say we've reviewed the bylaws, but we're gonna ask the city attorney for clarification on the committee working group issue and maybe just what the pattern is for set meeting times
And is it okay do you want to keep the bylaws as they are
for now.
for now, not with these changes?
well,
Yes.
Because there are,
as
I
they're
think,
for now.
speak for myself, is that there are some issues in these bylaws that I have questions on. I think that I can save those until we actually vote on the
Okay.
revised bylaws.
Okay,
So
Sounds good.
bylaws as they are now with with this a review date, and we will put them on the February agenda.
is February the best? Do we have time on the February agenda or should that? When we look at the packets. You keep adding things to February's meeting. You don't want it to be a sleepover here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in February, you have currently scheduled a presentation on digital collection management, which will be
Yes.
about 10 minutes. Appointing the nominating committee,
Takes a moment.
and setting the calendar for the next fiscal year.
Okay, so we do, and then we have maybe one more thing to add to that, but still, it's manageable. So we'll come back to it in February. Oh, good?
Um, One more thing.
Yeah.
Just talk to the city attorney's office. If you have them take a look at the consistency that we are using the terms search committee, nominating committee, working group. We've kind of got a mix of
Yeah.
all of those
Yeah.
terms that they could check that.
That's a good idea.
Because we're actually on that subject, we're actually the committee that looked at these bylaws. Looks like according to the memo, city attorney was saying something about in regard to that terminology, search committee, working group. They, I think would then the city attorney say, well,
I think the
that should be
opinion,
called something totally like
But-
hiring committee or something.
but I think the opinion was given before the court case. He closed.
That's
and
all
so-
part of that.
Yeah, so it's in the messy
Okay.
timeline issues.
All right.
We'll get some
But yeah,
better.
I think consistency, the language should be
Right.
consistent.
So only if the legislature in its wisdom revisits this to bring
Then we'll do
back
this again.
to find out to write it up so that it'll pass muster with the Supreme Court.
You know, we could put the bylaw up for every month.
We can only deal with the information we have available to us now.
know.
But you're right, this could become an annual review.
Well, they'll probably let it go. I mean, this is small potatoes
Yep.
for them, but
All right. Are we ready to move forward? Everyone? So our next is review the draft language for the strategic plan.
There are two documents related to the strategic plan in the packet. The first is that I'm asking to review the language of our current strategic plan. Like the discussion around the director's job description, there are changes needed in library documentation to comply with 2025 legislation. To comply with the law, library staff suggests changes for review to our current strategic plan. That's on page 20. And the strategic plan language for the goals and the objectives was voted on and accepted by the board in June of 2024. And this strategic plan is set to end in June of 2026. And included in the draft update to the strategic plan goals, we incorporated that language so you could see how it would fit, but we would make any modifications if you request them.
Questions, concerns?
we've got a couple of stylistic
Sure.
things. Page 26. In that first paragraph, I think the for in the second line, FOR, that for, the second line ought to be ought to substitute for it. So it would read, future support for early literacy needs at the new neighborhood centers.
I think you're one step ahead of us. Because I think we're on 4B and that's in 4C. Is there anything, let's just close up the first thing about the draft language.
Oh, I didn't realize.
That's okay, they're two different things. That's okay. It's the same
Third,
concept.
yeah,
It's like
put
two
together.
different items on the agenda. Do we have any concerns about how that language needs to be updated to meet current requirements, state requirements? That's just page 20 and 21.
With objective two, it felt to me like the revisions narrow the scope. And so I was wondering if it would be appropriate to say ensure service to all community members is central to all library services.
Ensure service to all community members are central or is central
to all library services.
To all other services.
Are we using services twice in the same phrase, the word services?
That is, doesn't it?
Ensure access to all community members is central to all library services.
Yeah.
Do you want it repeated back? Or, because we're gonna have to vote on this one.
Ensure access to all community members is central to all library services.
Is that an objective? Or is that a statement? I'm not sure if that's the format of an objective, is it?
Well, the objective is the ensure,
Right.
which is,
John's our grammar expert.
Yeah, I kind of lost track of where we are.
We're on
Oh.
page 20.
Page-
We're under objective 2. I'm trying to wordsmith.
And the recommendation is to change.
Give me a second to get to it.
the new proposed wording seems narrower to me than the original wording. Which is what I'm trying to get at there.
Yeah.
And so the recommendation is ensure access to all community members is central to all library services.
Sounded good to me.
Is that that's a, okay, objective structure wise, when we look at the other objectives?
I think it,
It looks like that just, okay. Okay, then, so with that adjustment, are there any other adjustments in this? Oh. Do you need us to approve this first? Do we have a motion to approve the draft update with the adjustment to objective 2?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
You're okay.
Thank you. And then we will make the change in the strategic plan update with the language to objective 2.
All right,
So
strategic plan update.
proud to present to you the January 2026 update to our strategic plan. A couple things about style. The style of the report is very different than in past years. It normally was a chart. We are looking through our website and our documents to make sure that all of our documents are ADA accessible to screen readers. And the chart, the way that we were using it, would not have been pleasant to listen to or easy to follow. And so we did an outline instead, which seemed the easiest way to read, both, I mean, for the person who and the screen reader, but also just for flow. It's a rolling document, so includes everything completed since FY 24, and all bolded items are new this past month. Couple of highlights. We launched an intergenerational story time at the senior center, which is on page 24. We have a partnership with Johnson County Public Health to offer senior planet technology health classes. It's on page 26. Of course, our space study assessment with the architect to identify building facility needs and selecting a new back-end computer system for the library, which is page 33. We'll make the update to the neighborhood center wording.
Now, in this, on page 24, we mentioned again the book fight. What's our measurement of success on that book fight? Staff time used for it, I'm just wondering.
I think we're using it mostly for, there's a couple of things. We mentioned that we go to festivals. I think we do some library cards and some discussions about library services, and it gives us a little bit of being a little more agile to meet those, to go to those places, and especially places where we cannot bring the bookmobile.
Okay, so it gives us physical access when the bookmobile won't fit.
The other group that uses it is Climate Action they bring it out and use it for their needs as well. So it's kind of a joint departmental.
It's the same bike?
Same bike.
Oh, I didn't know we were sharing it. Okay.
Yeah, they helped us with the grant. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you share with us, okay. So I was thinking, I don't have any resources with some of this and. Okay. Other comments about the update?
On page 25, last sentence, tour should be tours.
Oh, it's just a. Switching up that or something. Want more time or are we ready to go forward?
We'll make the corrections and the updates and we'll get it posted on our website.
So we need, you said board action is needed on this. Do we need a vote to accept the update?
I apologize, board
I
action.
think so. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. ADA checklist, which is always a tricky thing.
So this document is specifically just for your information, so there's no board action required. It's just the doing the checklist is a requirement for accreditation. And the board needs to receive a report every 3 years on one of the checklists offered by the state library. They use the New England ADA checklist for existing facilities. The state library sees the purpose of doing that is making sure that library boards review spaces and ensure that they're accessible. This document looks like we're checking a box, and yes, we are checking a box on accreditation, but this is not the only time staff think about these things. We do a yearly assessment with the city manager's office. We identify changing needs or changing standards. An example is even just our website that we're reviewing and making sure that we comply with the April 2026 changes. The strategic plan is an example. We have moved signs on our stacks to make sure that they meet requirements. And we also identify things that when we renovate the building that we need to ensure that we talk to the architects about. So the bathrooms are one of them, the height of the mirrors, the height of the grab bars, they met standards in 2004. Things have changed. So when we do renovate the bathrooms, we know that we need to make sure that the architect addresses that.
It's amazing, the quantity of things that they can find I was impressed by this. You know, we often think bureaucrats are wasting our time, but they obviously have thought about it and I think of all the things where you feel most vulnerable is in a bathroom.
Right, yeah.
And where, something that goes wrong is really humiliating.
Right.
And that's what this is trying to prevent.
Make sure, yeah.
So it was impressive to me.
And it's been one of our challenges, particularly with bathrooms, making sure they're accessible here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just have one very basic question. There's a column of possible solutions. Are those provided by the institute? Or are those things that our staff put in there?
They're provided by the Institute.
Okay, I was gonna say, there was a lot of possible solutions where there wasn't a problem, and I was
Right,
very
yeah.
confused by that.
Yeah, the checklist is to put, to be is accessible to people who might not be knowledgeable about ADA. So it's used for the entire state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Brad Kirky and Joel Lane did a lot of work reviewing that and cross-checked it on the city manager's office review.
A lot of detail.
A lot of detail.
Yes.
Thanks for the work.
Yes, down to the direction of the toilet paper roll. All right. Quarterly financials and statistics.
Yes. So, as I mentioned in my library expenditures memo, we're a little behind where we normally would be with expenditures. The first is in the materials budget. We're several percentage points behind, which can be quite a bit of money. That's because we're trying to catch up with the disruption of Baker and Taylor. The other line that's involved with library materials is the processing line. We pay for processing services, the jacketing of material, hardcover books, or the labeling. We don't have a vendor that's doing that right now, except we did get one today signed and ready to go. So we will start seeing expenditures in that line pretty soon.
Some kind of, I guess, going into the third and fourth quarter, like some kind of bulk purchasing, is that kind of the
Yeah, if we have,
plan
if there, well,
for printed?
yes, I think we'll be doing.
How are you doing though, as far as finding vendors to buy from?
For books? We're actually doing okay. We have our secondary vendor, which is Ingram. They've kind of taken up the bulk of the materials that we purchased, but we're also starting to find some smaller vendors to make sure we diversify where we're getting them from. And the issue I think right now with some of the vendors is that they have to respond to almost all of the United States moving over to them. And we've been kind of leveraging some of those smaller ones because that's not where people are really trying to go to. So I think we'll catch up. The other line that is personnel, we were understaffed, especially in the management sector. So that kind of made that line. The one line that I am watching is the HVAC line, HVAC repair and maintenance. We had a significant repair on one of our rooftop units that was leaking coolant both internally and externally. Coolant is very difficult to replace right now. It's very expensive because the EPA has moved over what coolants can be used in. Really, if you lose the coolant in a unit, that unit is done. So I've been talking to the city manager's office about that. And we have some other building lines that we haven't spent that we're gonna utilize in the meantime, but if we have to do a budget adjustment, I will talk to the finance department to get that.
Are the other lines of the same quantity? Because we've used all the money for this year.
Mhm.
And I'm just saying, like, we can't take it from small lines. This HVAC system is not going to just spontaneously heal.
Right,
It's going to get more and more vulnerable.
there's another line called other building repair and maintenance services, which is funded at 65,000. We've spent about half of it.
Do we need the other half of it? So,
Last year we were using it to pay for the HVAC system.
right. So we can't keep
Right,
a normal pattern of stealing from other lines
exactly.
to repair a system that's aging out.
We had the CIP meeting with council yesterday. They were receptive to the HVAC system. We had no questions.
My concern is when the HVAC system falls, it will be an emergency.
Yes, it will be.
And it'll be very expensive to respond to, where if we could anticipate it, we might have some savings.
I'm hoping that some of
It's a
those.
huge problem.
It's a huge problem. And it's $1 million to replace the rooftop units. And I think there
And
might,
that's planning.
That's
So $1 million,
planning.
if it's not,
Plan.
please do it immediately and put a rush on this.
It's hard to do that immediately. I mean,
Right.
we're talking cranes.
We're closing the building, is what we did.
well, there's a 50-ton unit and a 40-ton unit up there. They need to be specially manufactured for us.
So there's a real
So
timeline.
it's getting the crane in after we've received yeah. So I'm hoping there might be some budgetary room with the lost passing that maybe we can move this up. And I've already had some discussions about how long. We had an HVAC study completed in 2014. The schedule for replacement of the units was 2024. They think that the rooftop
Right.
units would last, and so we're 2 years behind.
This is probably a really crazy idea, but since they have to be custom made, is there any chance that we could place an order and have them hold it for us until we have our emergency or until we have the fund?
But why would they take on that risk? Because that would be
That's
expensive
why I
to
said
them.
it's a crazy
Yeah.
idea, but
It'd be expensive for them to manufacture on a hold.
Yeah. Or if we could
I,
take part down or something like that.
I don't know that we have the authority to bind the city to
This
give
is true, too.
someone money
That's probably true.
that isn't in our budget.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
So we have some work to do about getting that project expedited.
I guess the reason I want to keep bringing it up is because I don't want to wait for a crisis, and I think the city needs to understand we're very concerned about this. And you want to be fiscally responsible. It'd be better to do this a little bit ahead than an emergency. Anything else on this you'd like to point out to us?
In terms of statistics, one thing to note on the output statistics is that we're having issues with the form for the bookmobile statistics, and we'll get those numbers added to the spreadsheet. So we did go out and we did do stops, and people came on the bookmobile, but it doesn't look like it. And one thing I want to point out is that we're up 3.5% in library card holders this year. And so outreach staff have worked hard at events to get people signed up and tell them about the library, and
That book bike.
we're showing the numbers. And meeting room use for outside meetings for groups was up 12%.
So going back to the budget, on the personnel side, and you've been on the board long enough, you know, I hone in on this from time to time. So when you said we're understaffed, in what category? Full-time, part-time?
We didn't have a managerial position for 6 months.
It was replacing, Anne was doing 2 jobs, and then when she was hired as a director, we had that opening that we needed to fill.
All right. Because temporary employees, I always look at this one. So we've spent about 45% of the budget on temporary employees. And then lying down from that, we've spent about 65% of the budgeted overtime wages.
Yeah, so temporary employees, we've had a rolling there's a lot of openings. People leave those positions, especially we've been having several open positions in maintenance that we have not been able to fulfill. And we kind of have to think about a long-term strategy on making those positions a little bit more attractive because they just keep turning over. The overtime wages, at this point of the year, the majority of our holidays for overtime, we pay overtime for holidays and we pay overtime for Sundays. And a lot of our holidays are kind of front loaded in the first half of the year. We do not pay a lot of overtime, which is the Fair Labor Standards Act overtime, which would be your over 40 hours. Those are minimal. The only time that we really provide that is in case of emergencies. So if someone calls out on a Saturday and somebody's already worked 40 hours, but we need someone to cover that desk, we might offer overtime in that respect. That's very rare. The other time is if maybe somebody's working a Friday night or a Saturday and they can't get people to, they're here longer than we're open. Maybe it takes a little longer to get people out of the building. We might be paying 15 to 20 minutes of overtime.
So you think the overtime wages line item will stabilize then? It's not going to go.
Right. I do. We are not paying overtime to cover for staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that, I will say, I'm always happy to say this, and I say it, I think every quarter since I've been here, is that how well this budget is managed. It's always directionally correct, I think. In other words, we're doing what we said we were going to do. When you're making a budget, you want that to be a positive answer. So, my kudos to the staff and to you as well, Anne, as far as managing the budget and being good stewards of the funds.
Thank you.
And projecting appropriately. Which you. Any questions about the usage statistics that she provided? Okay. We're busy. All right. We are gonna be moving on to the director's report.
Budget week, as I said, we had the capital improvements budget presentation yesterday at council. Saturday is the operating budget presentation. Go in the morning before noon. One thing that I wrote about is that we had this opportunity from the city to be a local option sales tax project. And they looked at the carpeting and the furnishings project and asked if there were additional needs that we required in the building. And they've gotten projections for what they'll get in FY27. And we talked a little bit about what it would look like. So we included painting, some more furniture replacement, and we have some ceiling tiles that really are in need of replacement. And they took their offering, or well, they've budgeted $1.2 million for the carpeting and the furniture project.
Which changes our whole plan.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
The other thing that I am very happy about is we were working at a clip to get that carpet installed. And I think it'll allow us to make some more decision, give us a little bit of more breathing room, but especially it does not close some of the parts of the building during the summer. So now we would start the project in January 2027. And it would not disrupt our biggest time for meeting with patrons.
What's the reason why those lost funds cannot be used for our HVAC system?
Well, that would be a priority. We can change the request for the priority, but they were trying to fund the carpeting project as originally conceived.
So I think one concern may be the community needs to see the value of these funds. They're not likely to notice the HVAC system. But when we look at how it affects their experience receiving services, it's right under their feet. It's right on the ball.
Sure. Yeah, that makes
They
sense.
could have new.
So where are the funds? Did we already have the budget for the carpet?
It was 805,000.
Okay, where are those funds going now?
So those funds, they were using bonds for them.
Mhm.
And now it's moving over to a local option sales tax. I don't know. It allows them, the local option sales tax frees up the bond part a little bit for other projects. So I'm not entirely sure exactly where they went, but there was a large pool of projects. To give perspective, we're 0.7% of the projects for the CIP budget between 2026 and 2030. If you think of how streets, bridges, Burlington Street Bridge is a big project. Trails, parks are getting upgrades. There's a lot of need throughout the city. And I'm not sure exactly where they moved the money, specifically those funds too, but
Okay. So if I understand correctly, this is still under recommendation level with the council. It's not finalized, so it's not ours yet.
and we'll know in March.
Yeah.
When the budget's financed.
So, we've had a lot of conversations about a lot of expensive things recently, renovations to the building and HVAC and all of that. How do you see all of these things fitting together in what kind of timeline and so on?
So I think in terms of starting with the carpeting project originally was introduced to City Council in 2017. So we have been waiting for at least an upgrade to our furniture as well as the carpet for a significant amount of time. I'm hoping that the carpeting project will show the community that we're investing in the facilities, and so that if we do decide to make some significant changes, which could be about 5 to 10 years, depending on how what projects we decide to prioritize, how we see the future of the building going. It will show that we've made an investment in the space. In between renovating, or doing any major renovations. And so the carpeting project and any major renovations, we're gonna have that HVAC system. Hope, right now scheduled for 2030. I'm hoping it'll be a little sooner.
Okay.
Did that answer your question? I can elaborate more.
Are you thinking about this in terms of the next like 15 months? How is it gonna be?
No, I was thinking more
Operations.
like the next 10 years.
Okay.
Because the other thing that I'm thinking about right now is, I lived in the South District and the area south of the South District is about to get redeveloped. Like that's before planning and zoning right now. So there's going to be a whole lot more housing units down there. You're already talking about how maybe we need to be building additional,
Right,
another a satellite location
Right,
out there. So
or two.
I'm, thinking very long term here because that's going to be a 10-year project.
I think we're ending this particular strategic plan. We'll do a community assessment in the next
Okay.
year. And then we'll be developing a strategic plan to decide like what the priorities are. Is it investing in the building? Is it looking outside of the downtown area? Is it repurchasing a bookmobile? There's a lot of different decisions that we're going to have to make, and we'll just have to make them in terms of what the realities are and how we can do staffing and what funding is coming through. That's the conversations we'll have as a board, that you will have as a board.
Okay.
Anything else you'd like to bring up? That's not my research.
We went to Johnson County Board of Supervisors yesterday. Received positive feedback on our bookmobile stops and hills and Lone Tree, children's services, and as well as how important a library card is. Yeah. And
Very warmly received.
yeah,
I think the Board of Supervisors is very supportive in concept of our work and very appreciative. Doesn't mean it comes to more money, but they're very appreciative. They tell personal stories about how much the library has meant to them. All right, department reports. Department reports. Yeah. Maybe I'm the only one. I was a little confused by the photo in the adult services.
Oh,
I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking at.
that is the walkway between the graduate, they call it the graduate walkway.
Oh,
It's to south of.
okay,
Often where late at night, there's shenanigans.
right, unpleasant things.
So ARPA dollars were spent from the city to revitalize that space through our project, through lighting, but less just spotlights and more like this is supposed to be an entryway into the head mall from
Right,
a major thoroughfare.
and not a bathroom or
Yeah.
should
And it
design
has
that.
a lovely children's mural along one wall that ended up getting played with. So the photo was, that's the artist Hannah who used
Okay.
the digital media lab to create
got it now. Okay,
It's
now I see what I get it. Okay,
yeah. The idea was she was inspired by the
Great.
mural for the fireflies. She researched fireflies here at the library. She used the AutoCAD software to design
got it.
the layout, the spec layout for the lighting collab.
Right, your description was right there. Somehow
Yeah.
it didn't connect to my mind when I read it. I'm sorry. It was.
Clear. So,
Everyone else probably got it. I was probably the only one who.
which actually is not, it's in the link there, it should be. Apologies. But yeah, it's been a busy couple months. I should have looked at the winter reading numbers for today, but I have only January 7th because I wrote this actually a week early. So it's not for me, but you get old data. But we've given away, I think, we've given away at least probably, I'd say 50 adult team prizes yet.
Oh.
So, and not So yeah, I think. I said we had 40 there, so I bet we're 50. And it's a tote. The bookmark. People have been excited by the bingo. So what? Okay. Kids don't like the bingo.
All right,
It was an experiment, so it's fine.
novelty. Anything from the community access services report anymore?
I didn't have a designated shenanigans space to take a photo of, I apologize.
There's no photo, right? There's nothing. You had stats left.
I send a thank you to Jason for collaborating with us on the vocal bill and doing earbuds
Wow.
outdoors during the cold time of the year. And kudos to Jason on that.
How well attended was that? Just out of curiosity.
We've had two, each had 5 Intrepid walkers. But I've been to Terry Trublet since and people walk it all day long. So
Yeah.
we won't always be at Terry Trublet. In fact, this next month we're just gonna go downtown because Bougainville has a new schedule and so we're just gonna start here and do a walk. So it's sort of early days too. It's the thing that needs to build.
That's winter.
And we did have repeat people. The second event had, the gamut. It was like a repeat person who just loved walking, didn't really even walk with the group, just was so fast, walked like should have laughed at us probably.
That was a fast book.
Yeah. Third person was new to the community at 20 something professional who was just wanted to meet people, had been here a week, had already gotten a library card, and was looking to make friends. And so it was good to invite them all on the vocal wheel afterwards, and Coco and the staff. I was sort of ready to give the spiel about adult services, but the staff are like, we have this under control. So they're telling them all about my department. I was like, you guys know everything. It's great. I'll just walk.
I just gave your card to everybody. I'm like, go see Dr. Jason.
But yes, great.
Jason, I can't pull the numbers out, but since it's all ages, we have 582 people signed up for the winter reading program, so that's all ages and 110 completions. That's the most up to date.
All right, is anyone covering the development department report?
You can take any questions to Katie if you have them.
I know it was mentioned yesterday at the Friends Foundation Finance Committee, which I'm on. They're at, as of yesterday anyway, 120% of their fundraising goal.
It's working.
So it's incredible.
Yeah, they've gotten great responses to their year-end campaign.
Hopefully everyone will get that bright future on their calendar. No, I'm traveling, but I hope everyone else gets it on their calendar.
I'm traveling too.
Oh, great. All right, we got the book, which are in the library, so the library, but that's into media reports maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of fun story.
We've gotten so much that's resonated with a lot of people as United of what's being sent back to us from United Airlines.
Actually, I saw that on a couple of libraries nationally, and I wondered if United was just trying to do that. It's a PR point. I don't know, but anyway. My report, President's report. So we went to the Johnson County Supervisors meeting. That went well. I want to remind everyone that the 2nd of February is lobbying day in Des Moines. And if you would like to attend and catch a ride with the staff, that's an option. Let Ann know if you'd like to drive yourself. That's an option. But it doesn't take, it takes the day by the time you drive up there and back. But when you're there, it's a friendly environment. You can meet other trustees, other library directors. It's a worthwhile visit. See a beautiful law library. And get a sense really of how the activities work in the Capitol. So if you're considering it and the incentive of sharing a ride is important, please let Ann know. It's a fun day. It's a fun day. Next month, we're gonna follow up and have a digital media report. I know we've been waiting about that for a couple of months and postponing it. I just wanted to assure everyone it wasn't forgotten. I wanted to follow through on the request that we had last meeting to be trained on advocacy by a speaker that came to the staff retreat that was very powerful. We did price her. For a Zoom session, it would be $400. And I think we would have to discuss the value of doing that. The speaker is a private entity now, a private consultant, and would like $400 to present the material. I think another option is we could have staff present some of that material. I think another option is to get involved with the ILA's GAP committee. Their Government Affairs Committee. It meets every 2 weeks over Zoom. You get an update of what's going on. They also have a great website that tells you bills that are of concern. So what I would need tonight is to know, would people still like us to arrange for this speaker at the $400 cost? Would people like to be informed in another way by the staff bringing us information and informing us? Or would you like this to slide at this time? Or do you have another idea? Unfortunately, our lead advocacy working group person, Claire, isn't here right now, who's kind of led a lot of these initiatives, but where do people stand on this?
I would not be in favor of spending the $400 for a session for us. I think there are other ways.
Other purposes, other ways to inform us?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
That's a very pricey.
I agree. Would you like the staff to prepare information for us on how those get through? Would you like to take it on yourself and participate in the GAC committee? What action would you like us to take at this point? We don't know what will come out of this legislative season. It's a little bit early. We could also buy time and look and see what comes through. And have our own advocacy working group keep us updated.
I think that idea is the best one.
I agree. I like that idea.
So are we in agreement? So this time we'll write it for a month or so, see what's happening with the legislative season. Ask the advocacy working group to keep us kind of aware and the staff to keep us aware. And then we'll address it as the needs arise. Sound good? We'll pass on the expenditure at this time. Okay. The last thing I wanted to bring up is I've had a request that we look at the relationship and the history of the relationship between the trustees and the Friends Foundation. Look at the bylaws, look at how this has come so that we make sure we are working appropriately within our own missions as well as not duplicating or getting in each other's way. And there's been a request to have an information session on that. Would people like that in one of the future meetings to look at the Friends bylaws and our overall relationship? We could fit that in February still and have Anne, and however Anne would like to see that done, put together an information packet on that and then present for a short period. And I don't know if she wants to include other staff, we'll leave that to her, but how this relationship has evolved and needs to be reviewed. We haven't looked at the bylaws for some time, but we are responsible for their activity.
We are their activity. I mean, isn't that
We're
right?
corporate members.
I mean, I only found that out when I was redoing the bylaws, but we are the constituents of the.
We are, but I'm not sure there's clear understanding of that. That's why I think it's something we need to go back through and review.
Who doesn't understand it?
I think we need to see how the Friends interpret those bylaws and how we interpret those bylaws. And just make sure we understand that we're on the same page with this. So it's a good time, and maybe we're totally wrong and there's no confusion. But I've heard from a few people that there's confusion. So I think it's a good time to look at it and just try to get it all straightened out. before we have anything significant that we need to resolve. Let's be proactive. If people are willing to spend 15 minutes at the February meeting going through this and reading through the bylaws in your packet in advance. We've had concerns that have come up over the years, just anecdotally. And it's a good time to look at the whole relationship and the process.
I would be in favor of that. I think that.
And we're truly appreciative of the work they do. So this is not in any negative sense. It's just looking at an entity that works under us, and we haven't really looked at whether we can strengthen the relationship in any way.
Yeah.
In some time. So how do people feel about that being included in February? We would still have the digital media presentation, which you think is 15 minutes and 10, 15 minutes, and then we would have this session to go through also. Sound good? All right. That is all I have for the president's report. Thank goodness you have to listen to me longer. Foundation updates.
Like I said, yesterday, the Friends Foundation Finance Committee met yesterday. It was a good meeting. The bulk of the meeting was for discussion of the second quarter budget results, and their budget, like the main line of the budget, is directionally on track. Maybe we were looking at a small dip in where revenue in the foundation should be, but second quarter is very difficult sometimes for nonprofits and any nonprofit. And so, and a lot of it is just the timing of contributions. So it's a timing issue. It's not any other type of issue, really. Nothing to be alarmed about. Expenses were good. The investment account of the foundation, we have a good sizable investment account. We talked about that last year, actually, but that was all kind of transferred over to Hills Bank. I think it was last year at some point. It's doing very well. We have funds now we can actually put into or add to the investment account. So, and I just cautioned the committee to be cognizant of market volatility in the short term because of things that are happening on the global stage. The markets respond up and down, up and down. But again, it's nothing that I would be personally too concerned about as an independent investor, but also I don't think it's anything for the foundation to worry about too much. I would be more inclined to worry about inflation and where that's heading. But as far as our investments go, but I think that financially the foundation is very strong. So they've done a good job. Also being good stewards of all of those donated funds.
And is their second quarter also October through December?
Coincides with ours, yeah. So
Same
it starts
as ours. Okay.
Yeah. Starts in July, ends in June, right?
Yeah.
Thank goodness too. That'd be confusing. People who weren't having coincide dates. Yeah.
Anything else from our foundation? Any questions? Advocacy. Everyone was afraid to ask for an advocacy update because I don't think this would be good news.
As anticipated, there is a bill to get rid of the Iowa City requirement that is in the statute for the Historical Society. It's introduced. I don't think it's made it out of subcommittee yet, but it's introduced. And I don't have the bill number in front of me, but I can email it out to everyone if you want to know what it is.
Are there competing bills or just one bill right now?
I think there's just one.
Okay.
I think there might be a bill that was introduced also to do the opposite to fully
In the
fund it.
Senate. The Senate has an opposite bill. Yeah.
So I think there are competing bills.
But the one in the House side it's a bipartisan sponsorship, so that's nice to see.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
With
It's a
the
very
director, with the majority leader,
Yes,
as one of the
yes.
Republican majority leader.
Interesting.
Yeah, it seems more regional.
I mean, yeah, I was surprised.
All right.
He's not shown a statesman-like quality before.
Oh, I don't know about that. His father's a historian,
Oh, is that right?
academically a historian.
Oh,
That might, sometimes, the parents have.
Hard to go home. So is there anything you're asking us to pay particular attention to right now, or is it just the update and then you'll let us know?
That is the only update I have right now.
Okay.
I did. This isn't a bill at this point, but I did see, I don't know if anyone else did, there was an article in the Des Moines Register. About, what did Sam actually? But it was about, people having problems with public libraries, allowing children to access books that they can't get at school, especially through partnerships like the one that we have for the cards. So there may be something that comes up with that.
Was it a news story or like an opinion piece?
It was a news story
Oh.
in the Des Moines Register.
Hold up.
Actually, it might have been from last month.
It was.
I'm really bad at reading newspapers on time.
Let's say today.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if something comes up that would affect our ability to have a partnership with the public schools.
All right. Communications. Except for the great article on the return book. Anything you want to comment? Otherwise, I'd like to have the go through the consent agenda and have approval of the minutes of the last meeting and the disbursements. We do that together. Do we have motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay.
Aye.
Before we adjourn, let's just take again, look at that February meeting to make sure we know what we're up against. I will be appointing a nominating committee. I didn't want to speak too much about it tonight since we don't have full attendance. But I'll send out a message to everyone saying if you'd like to be on there and explain what it is, please just let me know. Because I'd love to have volunteers before draftees, but if you don't volunteer, I will draft people. We're gonna be setting the calendar year. We have a few department reports. And we have the 2 items we've added this evening. And well, 3 items if we look at the bylaws also.
Yeah.
So we'll have the digital media, the bylaws, and the Friends Foundation structure. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
I moved.
Second,
Okay.
all those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh.